Clubhouse, bam. We are live on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, Twitch, and Clubhouse. So many social media. I mean, and I don't want to even think, Ashley, about China. I mean, what is live streaming in China with all of these 100 phones to do live stream? How is it there?
Marco, we have 117 live streaming platforms in China. So if you were a Chinese blogger right now, you would literally have a rack with like, yes, with rows of phones that are all like looking at you. And then behind the scene, there would be 2 or 3 operators, like people that are staring at the screens, so that from all these phones, you get the comments and questions basically plugged into the same backend. But the phones are streaming separately because on each platform, you can go live on several accounts. And also there is no capabilities to link them together because the ecosystems don't like each other. So everybody wants their own traffic. So you would have a much more complex setup in China.
Yeah, absolutely. And when I think, oh my goodness, people say, oh, Monty, how can you go live stream simultaneously also on Clubhouse? I think, well, you know, it's a very difficult setup. And then I see these Chinese live streamers and it's crazy. Which one is the #1 live streaming platform in China in this moment? If you should say the
definitely.
top.
Well, when it comes to the category, right, there are 3 main categories: e-commerce, live streaming e-commerce, and that's the one everybody is excited about because it's translated in sales. Then there is gaming, of course, like entertainment, like singing, dancing, gaming, and people pay for entertainment. And there is education. So for e-commerce, it's Taobao Live. And there's just no second to that. Right now, more than 70% of their traffic actually comes from brands, and the other 30% are bloggers. So majority of live streams on e-commerce in China is actually done by brands themselves. And you would be surprised, it's 5 to 7 hours every single day a brand live streams to sell in China right now in 2021.
5 to 7 hours of live streaming.
Every single day. So they have dedicated employees that literally whose job is on a schedule every single day to come and say, here is an awesome, piece of pen, and you just want it. Don't you want it, Marco?
What I don't understand, Ashley, is how is it possible that in Europe or in US it's not already the same? Because I mean, in China is like that. All right, with the COVID, everything accelerated and everyone started to sell using live stream, but it was already like that before. It's not a new thing. But in Europe, it's still. I don't see so many companies or people just doing live streaming every day with the idea of selling stuff.
Well, live streaming in China actually has not started in 2019 or 2020. It started back in 2005. And it was PC based, and it was very like there was a separate chat and there was a separate thing going on, like a show. And slowly and gradually, it basically moved from PC, then PC entertainment, then mobile, and then essentially slowly and gradually it moved into what it is right now. So there was definitely development period, but 2019 was the time where everybody realized, wow, this is here to stay. And there's business, there's money to be made. And Chinese, remember, very pragmatic people. So they show me the money. They jumped on it, and bloggers jumped on it and literally pushed it forward. And essentially, a platform gave them a lot of traffic. So the bloggers that are right now the biggest when it comes to live streaming e-commerce, like Via, Li Jiaqi, so they started together with a platform. Platform needed them for content and commitment, and they got a lot of cool free traffic from the platform. So it was great collaboration. And then brands came and brought in even more money. So everybody's benefiting. And of course, the consumers had the habit and blah, blah, blah. And then 2020, it's where everything just accelerated like crazy. So it was already big and it just pushed. So why in the rest of the world it's not the same? I would say 3 main reasons. First of all, nobody is as digital as China, just as simple as that. Like look at Italy, look at the UK, look at the US. In China, I was just actually looking at the recent digital acceleration report published by the government. So it's like boring government data. So this year they are saying that first of all, from March last year until the December last year. So in 8 months, the number of internet users in China grew by 85 million. So right now, 989 million people in China are on the internet. So what that means also, and 94% of those people, right, the ones that are on the internet, watch videos online, and 79% of them shop online through video. Just think about those numbers, and think about Italy, think about where the US is, think about, everything else. Even if people are online, they are not using it exactly, for entertainment, video watching purchases. So number one is really, I would say, not everybody is online. There is software and hardware problem. So in China, mobile phones, smartphones are cheap, and many of them, you don't need to have latest iPhone for 5G. You can just get yourself an Oppo. You can get yourself a Huawei. You've got so many options. And many cities in China, like Shenzhen, like Shanghai, they have 100% 5G coverage. Right now, I'm speaking with you on 5G, but I'll be honest with you, Hong Kong's 5G is far away from where Shenzhen's 5G is,
Really?
even though they're trying. They're trying,
Right.
but it's 100% coverage. So that's number one. Number two, definitely consumer behavior. As of Chinese in general are very excited about new stuff, and they understand that the only constant is change. If you want to stay relevant, and in general, when something new comes up, they embrace it. In the West, well, I do not know. Look at Italy, look at Russia, look at the US. People are like, okay, technology is bad. Anything new is bad. Let's just try to stretch it as much as possible, further away, push it away. And that's a big difference. And of course, number three is ecosystem. So in China, there is this ecosystem, like for instance, Alibaba. They have e-commerce, they have traffic, they have business happening there, and then they add on this feature, live streaming, and they build bloggers, they build brands. Right now, they build virtual influencers and 3D studios where you can sit behind a green screen and show a product, and the product is rotating in front of you, and people are clicking on the product. They can see it inside out and purchase. It's crazy. It looks like Star Trek. Literally, I watched Star Trek from 1994, and that's how it looks. So these three reasons.
Yeah. And also, probably the culture is different. I give you an example. If I do a video and I add like a 30 seconds commercial inside of a project of mine, so it's my video, and inside there is, sorry, before, keep going, keep watching, have a look at this, my project is my new startup. The incredible amount of comments of people saying, I will unfollow you, there's too commercial, you sold your soul to, I mean, people are out of their mind, so the culture is completely different, I think, about selling and buying.
Absolutely. So in China, as I said, people are very pragmatic. So before anything gets really pushed out in the market, bloggers, platforms, brands go, show me the money, show me the money. Is there money to be made? In the West, we are in many ways very spoiled. Like, how do you think Facebook is making money off you? You think they're just providing you that service and go like, guys, please, you are the product, right? So you are the product if you don't pay for something. And when bloggers, actually, this is difficult for bloggers or personalities to actually promote something, because people believe that you need to give. And Lord forbid you're going to, promote your own stuff. And in China, actually, there is a very big fans economy. And that means if I really love Marco, like I go like crazy about you, I think your content is awesome, I think you are a phenomenal entrepreneur and you understand tech and you understand digitalization, like there will be people that virtually buy every single thing that you promote, be it physical or video course, etc.
Right.
And they will buy it not only for themselves, but also for their friends. For example, I got in my office a girl who is a part of this fans economy for a boys band. So she buys razors from them, video courses, singing courses, and she gives it to everyone. I was like, why do you need to buy so many? And she says, I want to support the artist or the blogger or the person that I respect. I know they need to make money in order to produce high quality content. So you can imagine how different the mindset is.
Completely different mindset. Ashley, I go on Clubhouse because we have Ye Yuan. I hope I pronounce it correctly.
Yeah, you did it correctly.
Hello, man. Where are you?
I'm currently located in Tokyo, but I was born in China, grew up in China.
All right, fantastic. So do you have a question for Ashley or a feedback?
No. I just came in this room like 5 minutes ago, and then I was curious about what you guys were talking about.
All right, cool. All right. Well, yeah. Thanks. Yeah. Shen Shen. How do you say? It's
谢谢
like
你，谢谢啊，
yeah,
真是很高兴，新年快乐，快乐，
oh,
身体健康。
fantastic. Yeah, I think are trends that are interesting for everyone in any country, because if you see China, then you understand what will happen. That's 100%. Yeah, culture could be different in Europe or in US, but at the end, where technology goes, create a change. By the way, have you seen this company? Surreal is called. They do synthetic content. Let me see. I show you. Wait, I show you. I saw it yesterday because it came out Microsoft Mesh, and then I was chatting about some different experiments out there. And there is this company called Surreal. He was working in Snap. And then
they build virtual AIs. So this is what we call virtual AI.
Right.
And
they
essentially
do it for videos. So I'll show you now here. So you use coding basically to edit videos. You see that the face change, bam. So you create multiple videos, multiple content, starting from the same piece of content, something like that.
This is awesome. And
interesting.
I think for them, again, what they can do even cooler, for example, this CNY, which is Chinese New Year, there's always this big gala, right, that's performed. So this year there was Andy Lau, which is a famous Hong Kong singer. He was participating in it, but virtually, because Hong Kong and mainland China have basically 3 weeks quarantine in between both ways, which is impossible to endure in the government facility. So he participated virtually. It's called blended live streaming with hologram. So what they did is they put him in a studio. He was dancing and singing with the other person in Beijing, and they virtually looked like he was there for live audience and for virtual audience. It was total madness. You would have never thought that this is digital blend. And also in China, they have those virtual AIs, which is exactly like this technology is used, as you said, for editing videos and creating content. But there is one where, for example, you have a lot of virtual content. They put your pace, the way you talk, the way you look, the way you express ideas all together, and they create an AI of you. And then somebody can pay a subscription fee and have a conversation with Marco in his living room about digital economy, and it will look like you, talk like you. And there are some TV anchors already that are working on CCTV, delivering news that are copies of real anchors. Madness. 2021. Wow. And that's the future.
And is something that you would say, yeah, is realistic, and the voice and expressions are pretty good, or you feel like it is a bit weird?
Beginning of last year, you could tell by the edges of the lips, you could tell that just something is off. But only if you really look for it. Then you would say, okay, the person, talks a little bit like that, like the edges of lips. I think it's more difficult to really work out how humans talk. But by now, you showed me 4 videos of the person, like real person, and this personal AI. And it's with everything. It's with, I do a lot of motion and hands are dancing. Yeah. They are going to replicate all that, and I will not be able to tell the difference. And Crazy. That's the cool part, but also a scary part in many ways. Imagine you get Jackie Chan and he doesn't need to act in a movie anymore.
How do they map your persona? I mean, they do a mapping like in the movies that, you have all the dots on you and they do the mapping. How do they create the virtual model, or is something easier?
So when you want to be, for example, an anchor on CCTV, then yes, they would invite the actual anchor to read a couple of things to make sure that it's, all round scanned. like basically like shooting avatar, right? You
Right.
need to be in this green screen studio. But if you're just looking for something simpler, for example, I just need Ashley's file profile, and here basically talking to the camera. I don't need to have Ashley's, I don't know, back.
No.
So then you just upload your videos. You need to have, I think it's, I do not know, 20 hours of you on video talking. And then they analyze your gestures, your voice, your pace, and then they come up with your personal AI. I think Tony Robbins is building one.
Yes, I heard Tony Robbins is building one with all of his knowledge, and then you can talk with him, something like that. I want it so I can go to swim in the Brighton Ocean while my AI, the AI Monty is doing the job. Why should I do the job? I mean, let him work a bit.
Another 2-3 years, this technology will be available, I think, perhaps outside of China as well. But right now, I'm telling you, it's quite interesting. And of course, there is a rise of also virtual KOLs right now, globally and in China, especially when it comes to live streaming, because people obviously get fatigued live streaming every day for 5 to 8 hours. And if you're a blogger, you need to be switched on. If you're a big blogger like Via or Li Jiaqi, right, you need to be switched on every single day. Doesn't matter whether you're sick, you're not feeling well. I mean, you are doing that every day. You and I, we know what social media is. It's a full-time job. It's really, really hard, guys. I hope you're going to show a lot more love to Monty for all the amazing stuff that he's doing. Like literally, guys, you can't imagine. It is such a full-time job. I'm impressed. And they are doing that, but switched on promoting products for like 4 hours every single day. So bringing on at times this virtual AI that is giving you like 20 minutes in between, so to relax, is also kind of changing the pace, and it's cool.
Interesting, really interesting. Let me get someone from Clubhouse. Let me get some fellow Italians here, because otherwise I feel lonely. The other thing that I wanted your opinion about, we have Pietro. Where are you, Pietro? Oh,
ciao Marco.
Ciao.
Ciao Marco.
Hello.
Hope all is okay. Very nice conversation. I have a quick question, if I may.
Please.
In terms of building personal branding and reputational marketing, in the Chinese market is one of those that is the trickiest, because being a native speaker could be really a factor. Would your guest recommend to use the English language to get introduced to the market like the Chinese one?
Yeah, interesting. Thank you, Pietro. It's the classic topic. I tried. You remember, like a couple of years ago, I tried to do some stuff in Chinese, but using English and Chinese subtitles, and I failed miserably. I found it very hard.
Yeah, well, I always say that China is truly a parallel universe. So, it's a little bit like Alice in Wonderland. Like you wake up one morning and the world seems normal until it's not. So you are virtually Alice in Wonderland. And there are a few limitations as a foreigner. First of all, if you are not speaking Chinese, for example, in the arena of live streaming, you are legally not allowed to be a foreigner and do live streaming without 3 conditions. Condition number 1, you need to physically be in China. Condition number 2, you need to speak Chinese when you are live streaming. Condition number 3, you need to have permission from the government to allow you to live stream. So, and that means you virtually, there are live streamers, but they speak Chinese, they are approved, and essentially they are physically located in China. Why do you need to be physically located in China? Because then the content that you're creating also falls under Chinese cybersecurity, obviously regulations, like in every country and any country, right? So China is right now very much regulating their digital space. And I would like to draw, I think, everybody's attention to this part, because in the West, we tend to regulate before we understand technology. So we're sitting there and we're thinking, okay, guys, how can we regulate digital currencies? How can we regulate, commerce? How can we regulate the self-driving car industry? And we don't know how it's going to shape out, but we are trying to regulate it before it happens. So in China, completely reverse. First, they let it happen. Like, cool, live streaming, just run, just do it. Bloggers, just go. It's Wild West. So 1 or 2 years, sometimes longer, sometimes shorter, it's Wild West. And then when it reaches a certain scale, government steps in, they understand the processes, and they go, okay, these are the problems, and we're going to target them with regulations. So that is why for a blogger, a foreigner in China right now in 2021, you need to comply to a lot of regulations. They introduced them last year. So before that, it was easier. 5 years ago, you could just jump in, get yourself Meituan, get millions of followers, and do whatever. But when it comes to content which is not live streamed, for example, Weibo, for example, WeChat, for example, Red, you can be on all of those platforms through Chinese content. If you do English content, that the only option is teaching English. But if you're not going to teach English, if you're not an English teacher, then their question is, why would the foreigner who is not physically in the market, unless you are Kim Kardashian or I do not know, Kobe Bryant, or somebody who's really, I don't know, represents an industry or sports, etc. They would say, like, what do you have to say? Why should I listen to you? Like, I've got so many options and I'm bombarded with content. So, and China is different like that.
My only option, sorry, I turned the microphone off because they are digging in the garden and there is an incredible noise every day.
Are you building a pool?
Yeah, I'm building like a tunnel to go to Italy under this tunnel sooner or later after the lockdown. No, what I wanted to say, my Chinese chance maybe is with this virtual AI. If I can have the Chinese language, I can be me talking, but then with the Chinese language, and maybe this is
absolutely
voice cloning, something like that.
Yeah, there is quite. I mean, I've been in Hangzhou just before the lockdown, so late 2019, and we were in a hotel, and there was this little robot, the size of the phone, and it was standing at the reception in Hangzhou. So you would come to it and you would say what you want in your native language. So I could say it in Russian or English or German or whatever language. And then the person who responds to you also uses the language, but you hear it back in your native language. It was very, very cool. So there's definitely, I'm sure there will be a merger of these two, and you could deliver content in Italian and it can be translated rather well. I wouldn't say 100%, but rather well into Chinese. And I think this is the future of us, coming together as a global community. Working in China will very likely still be regulated because internet is a regulated industry and you need to comply. But as long as you're talking about business digitalization, etc., I think this is definitely a very interesting market.
Interesting. I was curious about NFT. I'm really into non-fungible tokens in this moment. I don't know if you heard about it, or if it's something that you track, or if it's something that you see in China related with the crypto world. Especially the art sector had a big boom with people selling millions of these NFT digital arts. And I'm trying to play around with those ones, and I'm really fascinated by it. I don't know if you. What's your opinion on it, if you have one?
I'm not very familiar with that particular market in China, but I would say in general, China, I believe when it comes to anything blockchain related, it is leading in the world. When it comes to cryptocurrencies, this is where the government started regulating in 2019. And it's been like Bitcoin, for example, social media accounts were shut down, this and that. But when it comes to implementing it in tracking into, exchange contracts, let's say new retail, supply chain management, etc., China is very, very big. In general, even China government, introducing their own digital RMB, they're using very similar technology. The digital currency run on, it's not particularly blockchain, but essentially, a very similar direction. And when it comes to art, I'm not quite sure. You need to explain me more what NFT artwork creator, is all about. But when it comes to art, China is definitely awakening, and there are so many beautiful local artists. They are interested in global art, and this is just the beginning. Absolutely.
What are the main trends apart from live streaming e-commerce in China that you see? What are the main opportunities that you see in this moment? And by the way, how is the situation there? After COVID, is just the economy back in business as usual? What's the situation?
Right. So China has definitely recovered the fastest, and it was basically announced already by, I believe, the World Bank and everybody else. And just last week, it was also confirmed by the National Bureau of Statistics that China's economy in 2020, basically, they first of all lost first 4 or 5 months of the year, but then still in general, they registered 2.3 year-over-year growth. So over 2019, and that was boosted by manufacturing. They were basically supporting, with manufacturing of goods, the rest of the world. Also very strong domestic consumption, and it was, very, very healthy, the healthiest in the world by 2035, and that's from Bank of America. Bank of America estimates that from now to 2035, China's economy is likely to double. So we're looking for another really cool rally in the next couple of years. So it has recovered. But I would like to mention one thing, because when people talk about China right now, and everybody's so excited about the market, the recovery is not even when it comes to south and north of China. So it has historically been a big separation, big divide between the two parts of the country. North has always been colder, gloomier, and the economy has been slower. And south has always been, warmer, more cheerful, and that's where, show me the money economy is kind of really there. And for example, when you go to Guangdong, right, which is the south of China, how do you address people? Like you want to stop somebody and say, can I please do something? You address a person like a man or a lady or a gentleman. Can you please help me? You address them, 老板. You say boss. Like people literally address you, hey boss, would you like to eat? Hey boss, would you like? And even when you sit in the car, like driver, right? There is a taxi driver. You address the driver as 老板, a boss. But when you go, for example, to a place like Chongqing, which is central China, how do you address a person? If you say boss, people go like if you are a boss, then a boss. But if not, they'll be like, this is really weird. So they call you 老师, which is the teacher. So they call you teacher. You literally sit in the car and you call your driver teacher, and the driver will call you teacher back. So all these cultural differences between north and south are translating also in the fact that with the economic recovery in 2020, north is suffering a lot more than south. So in the south, we see revenge consumption. We see people going like, you know what, I'm tired of all that. I really want some new experiences. Buy more stuff. A couple of weeks ago, we had this LV jacket. I'm not sure whether you've seen or not, but this LV jacket, which is literally inflatable air. I'm not kidding you. It's just a bag of air, and it's just inflatable, so it doesn't keep you warm. It doesn't protect against rain, nothing. So that thing sold for more than $4,000 US, and it's sold out across country. So all bloggers want that. They say it's a fashion and statement piece. Okay, but at the same time, in the north, people are like, okay, I'd rather save more. I'm not so confident. Yeah, right now, the party is good. What? As of a business economy, all that. The party is in my house tonight, but what about tomorrow? So that is why the economy is not recovering evenly. No. And in terms of trends, I would say number one, made in China, 2025. So that's a big slogan. That's a big direction where China government wants to move. Essentially, it's all about infrastructure. It's about 5G, Internet of Things, big data, and brands. So that you would be proud with, made in China 2025. So it would stand for like made in Italy, made in Germany, something really, really cool, rather than where is this font from? It's from China, right? Yeah, made in China. Then the other one is we are looking at this monopoly. So in China, there are a lot of tech monopolies. For example, in the new retail sector, there's Tencent plus JD, there's Alibaba, there are ByteDance, obviously, running Douyin and TikTok and many other platforms. So right now, China government is creating those antitrust laws that, they're not breaking up monopolies, but they are trying to introduce a bit more of that balance, so which is great for brands. So if you are to work in the China market, you don't need to choose a side or need to choose a side less, and that is reshaping a lot of things, a lot of trends. Then there is, of course,
is not the richest man in China. Yesterday,
not anymore.
There is the water bottle guy, I think, something like that.
Yeah. Non-Fushan is I'm gonna going all the way.
Sure.
Yeah. So
Okay,
China
so
is
made in China
very
is a big trend. Okay.
made in China, and then breaking monopolies. Also, domestic travel is very, very big. Obviously, it's anywhere in the world, but in China, it is safe to travel domestically, and they're doing two things. First of all, they are really using this time to increase the scale and digitalize. So right now, when you go to, for example, the Great Wall of China, you don't queue, you don't see people, you don't buy ticket. Everything is done by scanning QR codes, taking temperature, traffic control. All that is beautifully organized and scale is increased. And number two, they are creating unique experiences. And it's totally crazy. You have these underwater bedrooms where you're swimming and sleeping with sharks, like you're obviously sleeping in the little bubble and the sharks are swimming above you. There are places where you have giraffes imported from Africa and you are replicating Namibia. There are like desert tours where you have camels. So they are trying to bring the world to them. You can be in China and you can be in the Maldives. You can be in Africa. You can be XYZ. So these two things are happening with domestic tourists quite a lot. And of course, there is also very interesting focus on older population. China is fast becoming an aging society. And I think next year, they will officially become an aged society. And that would also mean, and many of them are in lower tier cities. So that also means that our advertising, the products, the whole pace will have to more and more cater to older people. And that creates a lot of opportunities.
There is a question from Multiform on YouTube asking, what does you think? Look, I'll show it to you. What does you think about the social score system implemented in China? Well, I admit that I don't know if it's already been implemented or if it's in a testing mode. I don't know the level of scaling of the system.
Yeah, so it's already implemented since a couple of months ago, and for the first 1 or 2 years, it was tested in selected cities, and right now it's implemented all across the country. So essentially, it's like credit. Basically, it's called a social credit system, and it's like every citizen needs to be part of this government scheme. So based on your location, education, based on your digital activities, based on the fact, do you pay taxes? Have you jaywalked on the street? Have you broken the law, etc., etc.? You get different scores. And based on that score, you have access to, let's say, credit. So in the bank, you can apply for loan. There's a lot of support activities by the government and also by the banks, obviously. At the same time, you can, for example, be recommended to a better university if you're on the good list, etc. So there is in the West a lot of fear when it comes to this social credit system, because people feel that, okay, there's a lot of power in this centralized digital system. And I believe that in China, the attitude towards it is a little bit different, because people feel that apart from all that, there's also a lot of benefits. And I'm actually reading a book which is called The Story of China. It just came out recently. It's a thick history of China. And I can tell you that already in Ming Dynasty, which is hundreds of years ago, China had a record of each person within the community, each family, etc., etc., etc. And they had millions of records done every 3 to 5 years. So there were 170, if I'm not mistaken, buildings filled up with files about each family, and it was a mega machine. So that is exactly what China's social credit system is doing right now, but in 2021 through a digital. So it's not a new idea for that, for that civilization, and it is in many ways supporting people. And I believe that essentially technology and the idea of what this social credit system is great, it's good, but technology can be used both ways. And in the West, we have the fear, how will China government use it? Because there's no trust. And actually, earlier today, I read in the news that in the US, the positive image of China is at its lowest since basically, I do not know, Second World War or 100 years ago, whenever. So like ever, it's the lowest ever. And because there is lack of trust, we tend to villainize the other party, and we tend to think the worst about what are they going to do with that technology. What are they going to do with all that data? And I believe that in many, many ways, it's not justified. So yeah, I personally feel that, yeah, that it's going to work for China.
Going back to business, Ashley, did you change your offer with the pandemic, or are you still doing the same things and your activities, or you came out with new services or products or new opportunities that you spot in the situation?
That's a great question. I remember last year when we spoke about it, I told you that in China, we are looking at 7 business models, right? Yeah. So that you're never just standing on one leg, right? You have 7 business models to support yourself. So it was phenomenal when the pandemic hit to really have those different business models.
They're different,
because
yeah.
Otherwise it would be, and I've got people here, I've got people in Shenzhen, and the first 3 months it was nothing happening in China, obviously. And I do not know why, but people felt that, oh, it's going to be just there, it has nothing to do with us, and business as usual and traveling and all that. So so we lost a lot of basically not clients but opportunities, right? People just would say, you know what, we're not moving, we don't know what's going to happen in China, maybe it's like SARS, maybe half of the country is going to be infected and that's going to be big, etc., etc. So then the second half of the second quarter came, and Europe started getting that China was recovering, and then basically second half of the year, third quarter was really good, fourth quarter was absolutely phenomenal, best quarter that we've ever had. So what changed is, for example, in 2019, I used to do a lot of traveling around the world and giving keynotes and trainings about China digitalization, etc. Obviously that died, and that was 40% of our bottom line in 2019. 40%.
Wow.
So that's a lot of money. But moving into 2020, we were able to do 2 things. First of all, everybody went in to revise their strategy for China, digital marketing strategy, doing research. So basically in the second half of the year, we caught up, because everybody, doesn't matter whether you worked in China for 20 years or you're just coming in, it was just a huge jump. By the way, on Alibaba ecosystem, on Tmall, we have, let me look at the numbers, but I think 70% increase when it comes to new businesses opening up. A lot of, when pandemic hit, everybody from Europe that was not yet in China, they started running into China with increased enthusiasm, because they knew this is going to be a growth market for the next 3 years when the rest of the world will still be in recovery. So, and then the second thing that I've learned, so apart from this shift, right, the second thing that I've learned, that the digital masterclasses can also work. And I had a limiting belief that I cannot charge the same money for physical masterclass and virtual masterclass, and that was totally my limiting belief. Right now we're actually, instead of like having 4 or 5 masterclasses around the world, flying, wasting time, we just do 2 or 3 a year, but they have hundreds of people and hundreds of companies, and you deliver it virtually, not 1 full day, but at 4 hours. And you're getting the same money, you're getting more exposure, and essentially, I think it was just a kick, in the right direction for me as well, to just go through digitalization. What about you?
Well, I've launched startups. Instead of going to the psychiatric, I launched startups. You know what? I recently launched a couple of months ago a new startup. Do you know masterclass.com?
Yes. I'm a subscriber.
Yeah. So I launched the Italian masterclass, basically. So I thought, why can't we do that model, subscription business model, where you learn from the best, but I get the best made in Italy people, basically. And so I launched it, and it was really cool. I already have 50 VIP, 50 Italian celebrities, and that is really exciting, because you are in the middle of this incredible network of people ranging from sport to business, entertainment. So this is something that I focused on. And I believe that in difficult periods, when Warren Buffett say, be greed when they are fearful, and be fearful when they are greed, something like that. So it has to be like that. So everyone panicked, no one doing anything. Oh, what will be the situation? And you start, and you go.
You just go. Yeah.
That's the moment. Otherwise, what do you do? Do you expect when the market is going great and everyone launching things and is fully saturated? No, you start when no one is there. So this is something that I did. I was curious about virtual events. Have you tried any interesting platforms, or are you just doing it on Zoom? I saw Tony Robbins doing crazy things with multi-screen. Did you see? That was an impressive state of the art, I think. Yeah.
He and you know who is doing great stuff? Oprah, because she has her Oprah book club. She is able to blend reality. So if I'm sitting in green screen studio and she's sitting in just one of her rooms in green screen studio, they're able to blend it and bring it on camera as if people are actually talking to each other. So it looks exactly like you are in the studio, and that is gorgeous. Because Tony Robbins is basically doing his thing where he is on stage and he sees the people, so he wants this interactive, and I think their studio is really state of the art, and it's multi-million-dollar setup. But yeah, Oprah does very interesting this kind of interview and communication stuff. We've actually for international audiences, it's very difficult to use any new platforms because everybody's either on Microsoft Teams, which I personally find ridiculous. That software is half of the time, it's majorly glitching, and Zoom is kind of cool, but the quality of the video is also ridiculous. What I figured out earlier in the year, that you can use Prezi video inside Zoom, right? And then you can flip slides very interestingly. So it's really interactive. So that works. And then you can obviously use all these survey monkeys and QR codes here and there, and people click, etc. But it is more like it's basically like first grader trying to use his creativity to make it. In China, what we have, and those platforms unfortunately only run in China. We actually have 3D live streaming, the one that I mentioned before, where you can create incredible, like you can have like I'm live streaming here, there's a little personal box here, and you can switch between two live streams. I can show you a product and can be moving, you can move it in, zoom it in, and see it in 3D. There's a lot more functionality there. I can decide, for example, right now we are talking, if we were in China right now, we could decide that we're going to put little red packet here, and when people click that red packet, they will be able to give us tips. And we can also do PK. What does it mean, PK? It means we can compete. So, for example, Monty is going to share his wisdom on, digital transformation in the West, and I'm going to share something in China. And people can vote whose, insights are more impressive or whatever. And then whoever wins gets the whole bank, like in terms of money. So and you're right, and there are so many interesting formats. Unfortunately, in the West, we're still stuck with Instagram Live, and people are telling me, "Oh, is this how China runs?" I was like, "No, Instagram Live is basically just camera, and you can just stream that camera. There's no functionality. This is not what China's live streaming is about."
It will be very interesting to see the next few years with virtual AI, 3D live streaming, and all of this stuff. Yesterday, I saw this Microsoft Mesh where basically they do through their how do you say, their
VR set.
Yeah, VR set. They mesh, and you can have AR, virtual reality, and reality mesh blended together. So it will be really interesting the next few years, because the other interesting thing is that, as you mentioned at the beginning, when you do today a live stream in China with 100 different phones simultaneously, new jobs start, because there is the technician who maybe is specialized in the setup, and the one who is the comment moderator or the Clubhouse moderator. So it's interesting to see how all the new technologies, then they create these new jobs.
Absolutely. And in China, beginning of last year, we already had a blogger or live streamer and blogger becoming an actual registered job, where you get your social security, and you get your pension at the end of it. So blogger is an official job. And right now in China, we have a gap of 3 million jobs in live streaming space. So that means farmers that need, to live stream. That means sales assistants, because in department stores, how do you sell right now? You don't just sit there and wait for the customer to come to you. But when you have downtimes, you start live streaming, and that's what is expected of you. Then obviously, people that do it through gamified platforms that are running MCNs, etc. So 3 million jobs gap. So you need to close that gap in the next 2 to 3 years. So that is why big platforms like Pinduoduo, Jingdong, they start educating people. They say, come to me, I'm going to teach you how to be a better live streamer. That's one of the biggest trainings right now, in-demand trainings, how to turn your salespeople, marketing people into cool live streamers. So of course it creates a lot of jobs.
That's interesting. In Italy, if you say I work in tech, or I'm an entrepreneur, or I do a startup, the reaction is, oh, go find a real job. Not even I'm a YouTuber or a blogger, like I'm an entrepreneur creating a company in the tech sector. I don't know. It's not so easy, by the way. I go back. So
people think you're a failure. It was exactly the same in China. Oh my!
It's like you're almost embarrassed. It's better if you say, "Look, I work at McDonald's." Ah, that's a real job. Good job. I go back to Clubhouse. There is. Oh my gosh, I'm bad with the name. Badr. Badra Aloitabi. Is it possible? Sorry, man.
Hello, friend.
Hello, man.
Sir Marco, can you follow me, please?
Oh, all right. We'll follow you. Do you have any question for Ashley, or is just a following question?
Not only follow.
All right. that was the most random Clubhouse experience of my life. Someone who asked to speak, to ask to be followed. It's incredible. That's great marketing strategy. How not to get follower.
Yeah. So in terms of Clubhouse, I would say what we've learned, and we ran an event, a big event there a couple of weeks ago about digital China. It was 12 hours long, and what I've learned, you need to ask, if people want to ask a question, they raise their hand. So you need to ask them to put the question that they want to ask at the top of their bio. And when they raise a hand, you go into their bio and first you read a question, because we've also had a couple of people that you bring on stage and then you go like, can I cut it out of the recording?
That's a genius idea, actually. I never do it because you know what? I love the moment of and now that's the moment I prefer, So anyway, this was interesting. That this friend who this is the other problem. Can you believe that today in 2021, still so many companies and people believe that doing online marketing is asking for followers, or they don't think about content, creating content, because we spoke about selling, but I was curious also about the content creation in China. How is developed comparing to Europe or US? Because here, there is a culture of, all right, create great content, useful content, or inspiring content. What's the situation in China?
Oh, it's that, but even more and bigger, because Chinese audience is very spoiled. The biggest audience online that consumes social media content are Gen Zs, like everywhere else in the world, no surprises. But the second most active audience is the plus 60. So people above 60. So what we call gray head generation. And that makes it very interesting. You definitely need to create amazing content. And in fact, when it comes to entering China as a business, right, you need to know that there is marketing spent for inside marketplace. Marketplace can be, Alibaba's Tmall, Jingdong, where you sell, like China's Amazon, right? And there's a lot of marketing to be done there. Search engine optimization, banners. You need to run live streaming there. You need to have live stream bloggers, etc., to sell. So everything that ends in transaction is done by that. And it is done by TP Partner. TP Partner is like your online distributor. Okay, so their job is exactly what you said: grab attention, sell, grab attention, sell. And the first couple of sales are going to be negative ROI. On your second or third sale, you will make profit. So you need to understand your lifelong customer
Lifetime
value.
value.
Absolutely. And then the second part of marketing, it's outside of the marketplace, and that is, I would say, 50% content creation and the other 50% boosting that content out, because there is no such thing as free lunch. So it's pay per play in China. You want access to your Weibo followers, you need to pay. You want to be featured in I don't know, some bloggers, etc., you need to pay. So content is extremely important, and very often people get it wrong because there are so many different niche consumer groups in China. So you need to very clearly know who are you targeting, and that you are, if you are targeting just Gen Zs and you create content and you boost it, you spend money creating it, you spend money boosting it, and it just is a mess. So that is why, again, very, very important to target it, to be creative, because China gets bored very quickly. Chinese go like, seen that before, not interested. The first time they see it, they're like, yeah, cool. Second time, third time, nah. So you need to be like, oh my God, how do I innovate? How do I make it insightful, entertaining, gamify everything? In China right now, video is the key, and gamification. And then you constantly need to make sure that it's interesting. So content creation is really, really tough job, but it's absolutely necessary.
And what's the KOL situation? Because my perception is that here in Europe and US, the idea of the influencers, when I say, oh, he's an influencer, it's like, yeah, he's an influencer. I don't know why there is this perception, because you have influencers that are, moving gazillions of money, and they can have really have an impact. What's the KOL picture in China in this moment?
So as mentioned, there is a huge fan economy in China, which means that everybody follows somebody, and on different platforms you follow from 5 to 50 people, okay, depending on the platform, each person on average. And everybody, I would say, in general, are more likely to purchase from a blogger recommendation than definitely in the West, and definitely then from advertising. So that is an extension, because in China there's a very strong word of mouth, and this is an extension of word of mouth. Like, I watch your live streams and I feel like, Monty, I know you, and I know you well. And if you tell me that, this course, this startup that you started, where, the master class of Italy, and if I feel that you're a cool guy, I'm going to subscribe. I'm going to support you, and I'm going to learn because I trust your recommendation, because I feel that we have this bond. So that's why it's working in China. In the West, the perception is like, hey, you're already a big guy. As you said, why did you sell yourself? Really? Did you put your face on this Coca-Cola bottle? Don't you have enough money already?
Yeah.
But there is this inherited, I would say, displeasure with people that are using their personal brand to recommend, and this is 100% like non-existent in Asia. I mean, not in Asia, but at least in China, Korea, and Japan. These are the 3 countries where I can vouch that does not really exist. And in terms of bloggers, 90% of them in China right now are part of MCN. And that's a big change that happened in the past 3-4 years. So MCN is multi-channel network. It's a company that helps you build a blogger. So I come in and I say, hey guys, I'm an aspiring actress, or I'm an aspiring singer. Can you help me? So then I pay them money. Think about that. I pay them money. So I go through the course. It's all about show me the money, right? Pragmatic people. So I pay them the money. I go through the course, and then they see that, ooh, Ashley has potential. Then they say, okay, I'm going to sign you up for 3 to 5 years. Basically, in China, the lifespan of a blogger is about 2 to 3 years, depending on the platform. If it's a live stream, 2 years. If it's more content driven, on Red or somewhere else, 3 years. So they sign you from 3 to 5 years. And it's literally like Hollywood in the 1950s, where they own you. Like, that's
crazy.
it. So they tell you, Ashley, right now you're going to be live streaming or you're going to be writing content. They will give you a few assistants to take pictures, to make sure that they follow you. I've know a few big bloggers in China that are working with MCNs, and they even ask you to change an accent.
Really?
And that is done because they have a sheer amount of data, and they tell you, if you want to be successful, you need to appeal more to the north. And then you need to have a different accent in order to sound like a northern, for instance, girl, right? So it's very interesting. They really put that image, they put this Hollywood persona into you. And then when you become successful, because they also have all these other KOLs that help you grow your followership, right? When you become successful, they essentially take up between 70 to 95% of the profits. And then you're working for them. And yeah, at one point you may or may not have an exit. So it's a brutal industry. It's truly brutal, but people still want to do that. And in China, there was a survey not so long ago. They asked, who do you want to become? And number one, I think, answer among children of certain ages, 10 to 15, was, I want to be an astronaut. Well, there's a big push into space right now in China. And somewhere in the top 10, there was, I would like to become a blogger and live streamer and really capture and get this fascinating followership. So it's very, very big, but it's a tough job. And there are about 5% of independent bloggers. They usually do it differently because they, by themselves, have to work really hard to break into, audience numbers, but then they create their own brands. So they have their own, for example, my former colleague, she used to work for us for a couple of years. She was always running her own blog on Weibo, on Red, on Bilibili. Then she hit hundreds of thousands, 500,000 followers, this and that. She created her own stationery brand. So she creates literally books like this, and her own journal, like what's inside the book, and she sells it, and she's got cups with with certain words of encouragement here, and it's selling quite well. She hired 3 people and she's running her own business, and I think this is another way. So bloggers, definitely there's a future for them, and it's a lot of stuff going on.
Ashley, it's always super interesting to speak with you. There are always so many data, interesting facts. I close my Clubhouse. Bye-bye to all the Clubhouse people. And that's it. Let's keep in touch for the next update. And soon we'll have to meet, Ashley. We never met. I was thinking, we never met in real life.
I wanted to be in Italy. I've got 3 to 4 holidays every year, and I wanted to be in Italy in 2020. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like even in 2021 traveling is going to be possible. So I wanted to be in both. Actually, I know that you are in the UK. In the UK and Italy, there was the Grand Europe tour. So, but when you are in Hong Kong, I'm in Europe, and borders open, we are doing this. I mean, this energy needs to meet.
We'll meet. And in the meantime, we'll try some blending technology, like all green screen and setup for VR. Great, Ashley. Thank you so much, and good luck for everything. Bye-bye.
It was a pleasure. Thank you.